All right, so we're out for a drive and we are in my 2011 Camaro, and this is the bare stock version. This is, I think, as far as I know, as base as the Camaro came. So it's with the V6 motor in it, and honestly, not a lot for accessories. So I wanted to do this little video for anybody that was looking at possibly buying a Camaro like this, because one of the things that I noticed when I was looking around at Camaros, you know, looking at reviews on YouTube and looking at reviews just about anywhere, is that, you know, everybody that does reviews really is doing reviews on either the RS version, which I get, which is nice, or especially the SS version, so the V8 version. But looking at this, a bare bones Camaro, nothing up there, you know, which is funny. So that's what I bought. I bought a bare bones one. And there's a couple reasons that I bought it. And the question then is, you know, do I regret buying a bare bones Camaro? Should I have bought the V8? Should I have bought, you know, a more loaded version of the RS, like the RS package, etc., etc.? So number one, budget, right? I wanted to buy this car outright cash, not have any payments after I was done. So that was a huge part of it. The big thing was paying it outright, hand in cash, not having any payments when I was done. That was it. So this car in Canadian, in the basically as it sits right now, the condition, this was $10,000. Boom, $10,000. That was it. Is that a good deal? Well, here where I bought it in Nova Scotia, I had been looking around because I wanted to buy, you know, a sports car, and I'll say muscle car, even though, you know, a lot of the muscle car guys will be like, oh, it's a V6, so it's not really a muscle car. Whatever. I had, when I was in my youth, an 85 Camaro Z28 that, you know, we put in a 396 and I ended up blowing that, and I put in a 327 in that one, and great motors, fast car. Is it as fast as this one? I don't even think so, you know, and that had a V8 in it. And then after that car, I had an 87 IROC, and same thing, right? TPI motor in it, but like 200 and change horsepower versus this one, which is, I can't even remember, 320, not at the wheels, but 320 and 300 and change for torque. This car would honestly eat those. Plus the handling of this car, way better. So, a couple things. Did the V6 bother me? Not at all. Still a nice fast car. The other thing is, in the spring, summer, fall, this will be my daily driver. Not that I drive a lot, but because of that, I kind of wanted something that was a little nicer in regards to maybe fuel, and not that the big one isn't, but on the highway, I'm easily getting close to 30 miles per gallon, you know, so as long as I'm not punching it. The moment I start punching it, then those numbers go out the window. But, you know, so if you're being like, okay, budget plays a factor, then, you know, the V6 is a great motor. It's super smooth. Just for you guys, if you're out there buying like a used one, I bought this one, again, used, and I was checking the motor, not the motor, but the instrument panel, because I was trying to learn it, figure it out where all the information was, and it was like, oh, your oil is at 6%, and I was like, oh, so this thing definitely needs an oil change, because I was finding the shifter not as smooth as I was hoping. So I took it in, got an oil change. They did one of the oil change that's for the Camaro, so it went in full synthetic with some kind of additive put into it, whatever. It is super smooth right now. I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is way nicer. So super happy with that. There were a few little things, again, when buying a used Camaro. One of the TPMS sensors on it, so my rear passenger, that sensor is not working. So when car starts, I get a tire pressure sensor error, but I can just say no, never mind, and it's fine, it goes away. But that's something that shouldn't be overly expensive to fix. Handling out of this car, you know, fantastic. The Camaro, I find, and I've driven like some Mustangs, and I actually, before I bought this, took a Nissan 350Z out. The Camaro is, or feels like, and I guess it is, it feels like such a big car. Now, because of that, you have to get used to it. Like, it takes up your lane without question. Like, it's a big, wide car, which means the handling is fantastic. At least I find on it. Again, even on the base, it's really nice. But here, where we are, kind of out in the country, the roads aren't necessarily that wide. So because of that, of course, you have to just make sure that you don't float around too much. But really nice. The other nice thing, again, as this being a daily driver, this has the 18-inch wheels on it. It is so comfortable to drive, like just smooth. So no issues at all. It is just, it hugs the road. Where we live, there is some real bumpy roads. No concerns. Like, it is smoother to ride on those than our Tucson, our little Hyundai. Not that that's a huge comparison, but that's a family vehicle versus a sports car, right? So yeah, it does really well, and the big tires probably help, you know, especially for potholes and that, because it doesn't sink in them. It kind of just floats over top of them, but quite nice. Again, that 3.6 liter engine, plenty of power for just kind of floating around doing whatever. Like, I have no concerns with it at all. I'm gonna see if I can get, I think I might be able to get on the highway from here, maybe. I don't know, possibly, we'll see. Hold on, come around here. Then you guys can hear it. Now here's the one thing where the V8 is nice, without question, and it's just the sound. This has a nice sound for sure, but it's not V8 sound. And there's nothing you can do with the exhaust to make it sound like a V8. Okay, ready? I don't even know if you guys can hear that, but she's got plenty of pep, right? Third gear, I can easily get it into about kilometers wise, 120, 130 in third. If you don't mind getting crap gas mileage, but it can do it. So if you need to get around somebody, you're off to the races. Very nice. But I would love to be able to get a deeper rumble out of that motor, but V6, so I don't think that's going to happen. Visibility. If you're a small person, like I'm 6 feet tall, if you're a small person, you may have some issues with this car. Number one, you sit really low in it. You really do. You sit really low. As you can see from this camera here, like it's pointed backwards, and you're still only like seeing the top of my head because I sit so low in it. Two things: if you're a short person, or if you're an older person that doesn't want to have to, you know, crawl into a car, let themselves fall into a car. That's something to be aware of with the Camaro. It sits really low, almost like a Corvette does. So kind of be aware of that, because if you put this up against a lot of other cars in its price category, I find this one just sink into it, which I like. But again, if you're a small person, the hood and everything seems way up on you, and that front window is actually quite narrow. So a few things to just kind of be aware of in regards to that, right? It's narrow. Now the other thing to be aware of, which is which is a killer. And when I was driving around, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I'll ever be able to figure this out. Like, I don't know if this is something I'm ever going to be like, I'm okay with it. The blind spot out of this window here, this side right here, it is brutal nasty. Like, brutal nasty. Yeah, it is pretty much impossible to see any car that's kind of in that blind spot area. Like, you can't even like shoulder check really to get there, because your headrest kind of blocks that little tiny window that's back there. It might as well not even be there. It's maybe for a passenger, at least they can look outside a little bit, but in regards to the driver, no, you can't see anything out there. So just be aware, really bad blind spot. We actually put, well, the guy who we bought this from, they actually put those little extra mirrors on the mirrors, you know, the ones that you see on like people that are towing trailers. He has those on there so that you can see down the side of your car better and see into that blind spot. That has saved me so many times, because it is just, it's so bad. It's so bad. Again, like there might as well have not been mirrors, or sorry, windows there. This one, everything I've talked about so far is just Camaro, right? It doesn't matter if you have the SS or if you have the base one like I do, except for the power of the motor. Ready? And 90, just popping into third. So, base model, few things to be aware of. Here's the big ones. You don't have, this is a huge one for me, Bluetooth. If you're looking for some modern conveniences with Bluetooth, so being able to pair your phone to your car, or you know, have your nav going through your car because you want to use your phone, nope, none of that. There's nothing on the base model of the Camaro. No, I wasn't even aware of that, because I was like looking online. Of course, nobody had the base model, and everyone's like, oh yeah, this is how you pair it. You go in here and do this, and you go here and you do this and do this, right? I'm like, cool. So I go in on the dash, and the first one you hit is like for phone, and it comes up and says, no, those features aren't available on this unit. And I'm like, okay. So needless to say, I do have a new stereo coming for it that should be here in the next day or two. And we'll do a full review of that, because right now, this here, right here, is the stereo, and it looks lovely. I'm a big fan of the way it looks. It definitely, the Camaro has that, we were trying to be retro-ish, a real big throwback to like the 67 Camaros and things like that, which I love, because I would love an old 67 Camaro, but this one I love just as much, I do. But again, yeah, if you're looking for some modern conveniences, there's a lot of spots on here that you realize there could have been buttons that there isn't. Like on the steering wheel, I have cruise, which is good, but nothing over here that would have to do with the phone or the radio or the stereo or anything like that, right? It's all down here, and well, there's nothing, right? There's just no Bluetoothy stuff. Big deal? Well, kind of, and it can be. So it's definitely something I miss, because I like to listen to the radio. I like to listen to my music. We're in a brand new province, so I don't know where I'm going. So having navigation is important. Can I get it to come through my stereo? Not really. I have an FM transmitter right now, but where we live, it doesn't work great, because the frequencies are so just bogged down with so many radio stations that, you know, you pick one here, it works great. You go 10 minutes that way, and all of a sudden it doesn't work good. So really, really important for us to find that, and that could be a big thing. It wasn't something I was aware of, and I kind of wish that I would have. Would it have changed my mind? I don't know, but it would have been nice to kind of know. Now, when we bought this, like I said, we bought it for $10,000. Boom, right? That was it, $10,000. And the closest Camaro in this age and kind of like the amount of mileage and stuff like that on it, was another RS version, or an RS version, and it was coming in, the guy was selling it for 15,000, and let's say maybe I could have got it for 14, maybe. This one started, and I had put it, I was watching it, and it started at 12, and when it dropped to 10, I went to go look at it. But my thought was, and it still is, I wanted to buy this car, again, as a daily driver, but I wanted a car that I could play with. So having kind of a base package, and again, the motor wasn't that important, meant that extra money, that extra $4,000 or $5,000, I could use it to invest in turning this car into the car that I wanted it to be. And really, maybe it's because I'm not, 20 years old anymore. This car is plenty fast for me. I don't need it to be faster. I don't need to spin the tires and burn donuts and do all that kind of stuff. I drove a Fiat before this, so plenty fast. What I wanted was a car that had a great look, didn't need any work, really, and something that I could play with over time. Buy little things here and there for it to kind of turn it into the car that I wanted. And by saving myself $4,000 or $5,000, that was $4,000 or $5,000 that I could use down the road to turn this into the car that I want. So, do I regret buying it? No, not at all. I'm having a great time with it. Even like I said, we were looking at a Nissan 350Z. I was this close to buying it. It was going for a 12.5, but it didn't have, of course, a back seat, and I wanted something that, because Harley still is young enough, I wanted to be able to take the family with us. Now, down the road, that may change, but right now, that was important. So, do I regret it? No, I think it's a great car. And if you are looking at a base version of the Camaro, like I have, you have to know what you want it to do. Do you want it to be a speed car that you can invest and spend tons of money building up the motor? Because the V6 is a lot harder to do that with. Not that it's impossible, but you'll probably spend way more money getting it to where the V8 starts. Is that worth it? Not for me. If you're looking at getting this car because you want it to, you like the looks of it, I love the 5th gen look. I'm a big fan of the 5th gen look. There's a few things body-wise that I'd like to do to this. I'd like to put a fin on it because it doesn't have one, like a spoiler, and possibly some ground effects on it, right? Some lowers. But again, I can get all those for probably around $2,000, $2,500 painted. And I'm still way less than I spent. And I can get it, I want to get some 20-inch tires for it maybe next year. Again, still less than if I would have bought the next version higher used. So I think I got a good deal. If you can get this car, again, Canadian, and it really depends on what you are, where you are, what you're looking at. If you can get it and you want to use it as something to build, or you're not into the Bluetooth technology stuff, it's a great starting point for sure. And for a lot of people, I think this is more than enough car for just about anybody. It's a super fun car. It's a comfortable car, even if you're driving on long trips. The very first day we owned this car, we drove it from our house to Cape Breton. So 4.5 hours each direction. So was awesome. I loved it. I would have no problems driving this across the country without no issue at all. So the base model, do I love it? I do. But it really depends on what you're looking for in a Camaro, I guess, right? That's it, guys. I'm gonna leave it there. I am going to possibly make some more videos on this car, or if you guys have questions on it, I'm more than happy to answer any that you may have, because there was nobody really for me to talk about in regards to this car when I bought it. So please leave comments or questions down below if you have the opportunity to watch this video. But yeah, I will put up follow-up videos as we do things to this car. And again, I'm on a budget like everybody else is, so I'm not like a lot of these Camaro guys that are like, well, I bought a Camaro and I spent $50,000 and I did this stuff to it. No, I don't have that. So a couple $1,000s here, a couple $100 there. That's kind of my hopes. All right, guys, I'm gonna leave it there, and we'll see you. We'll get back to the normal videos tomorrow. All right, guys, I'm out. Later.